Alright, this is our GigALoan test user. He has done not a whole lot with his life. He's made 2 contributions today in the effort to test forking repositories. However, in the process, my video capture was lost, and so now we're back to square zero. What we're going to do is we're going to search GitHub for GigALoan, and we're only going to find one repository. That's mine. This repository here is protected. You can't hurt this, which means that anything that you do in the repository that you're going to fork off, and we're going to show you how to do that, that stuff is all local to you. It's not going to impact what we have stored in our main master repository at all. So feel free to experiment, to explore, to break things. It's okay. Just please try to fix them before you submit them, or pull somebody else's working version of that particular file and replace your broken file before you submit your changes. We'll go through all that in a minute. So what we're going to do here first is we're going to come up here to fork. Now keep in mind, remember that this is my bin GigALoan repository, and we're going to come over here to fork. It's one button press, and it is now forked. We are now in the GigALoan test bin, which is the user's bin that has forked off of my main repository, and then this is the copy of the repository, and it shows down here that it was forked from my personal repository. What we're going to do then is we're going to copy this URL. This is our repository URL, and that's going to be necessary to use with Visual Studio. So we're going to come over here, we're going to search for Visual Studio, open up Visual Studio 2015, and we're going to go to Team, Manage Connections, and we're going to go to Clone. Once we're in the clone option here, it'll say enter the URL of the Git repo to clone, and we're going to paste that Git repository from our personal bin. We want to make sure that it's our user bin here that's being cloned. And then we can name this repo, the local repo, whatever we want to. I can call it test, and it'll be just fine. And we hit clone. Now it's going to go through and it's going to take all those objects from the repository and it's going to stick them into my local repo folder. Once we're done with that, we can open this up, and then here we can open up the solution. When we open up the solution, it's going to give us a blank screen here. That's okay, we didn't break anything. Go to View, go to Solution Explorer, and our whole project is right here under the Solution Explorer. So I can open up the GigALoan console. This is where we've been dumping all of our comments. And I can say comment number 2. Down here on the right hand side, first off, you'll see a change right here. This is Git letting you know that there's been a change. Every single line that you change will have a notification next to it from Git letting you know that it's been changed. Now here in the Solution Explorer, you'll see that each individual file that you have edited will show pending edit. This is very good. This lets you know that what you need to commit, or what you've made changes to, either accidentally or not, in your solution. You can go to your solution and you can right-click it and select Commit from your solution. Any change made in the entire solution will then be committed all at once. However, you can also go to the individual files that you've made changes to, right-click those, select Commit, and then it'll bring you to the same exact changes window. This is no different from if you committed the entire solution. It's just a little more selective. You can commit one change at a time so that people can pull one change at a time as well, which can be helpful if you're experimenting with larger groups of code. So in order to make a commit, you have to enter a commit message. It's a requirement from Git, and it's also very helpful for us to track the history of our changes. As you can see here, we can go back to any individual commit, and we can see what changes were made inside that commit. So demonstrating forking says that we just made a comment, and here's the comment in there. So making illustrative, legible, intelligible commit messages is really important, not just for the repository holder, but also for the person that's making commitments to their own fork of the repository. So here we are. We're going to enter a commit message, modify the comment, and fix the typo. We're going to commit. Yes. This commit only saves to our local repository. This has not affected GigALoan test users' online repository yet at all. The online repository does not know that any changes have been made. In order to make those changes, we must go to sync, and then we have to push our outgoing commits. We can also pull incoming commits, or we can press sync to commit everything simultaneously. Also, we'll go over the next in a bit. So we can sync. And then it's going to ask us to give our GitHub credentials, and I can't ever remember the name of the password. There we go. Password's here. I'm telling it not to remember my credentials solely because I'm actually running my own user as well as this test user on the same computer, and it was causing me some issues when it was trying to remember the credentials for one or the other, and I was loading up the alternative one and everything would just break. So for you, you can tell it to remember your credentials, and it's very, very helpful. Select OK, and it performs the sync, and now your commit has been pushed to your forked repository. So we can come up here and we can refresh, and you modified a comment. Latest commit was 2 minutes ago. That simple. Your fork is now ahead of the master repository because you made a commit to your repository. So you've decided that your work is done here, and you want to merge this folder back, or this repository back into the main repository, and have everything one big happy program again. Submit a new pull request. Git tests the two repositories against each other to make sure that that the additions aren't going to cause huge conflicts. It tells you what changes have been made down here, and it removed this line and then added this line instead. We views that as two separate actions, not a modification, a removal of this line and an addition of this line. So then we're going to create a pull request and tell it that we modified a comment, and then we can create that pull request. I can go into a pull request and accept it. So once all that is done, then your submissions of code have been completed and you are successfully working with GitHub. Now also, if you so decide that you are just sick of the whole mess and you don't want anything to do with the code that you've been working on, you just kind of want to start over, that's possible as well. You can go to your profile, go to your repositories, go to the repository you want to remove, settings, scroll down, delete this repository. You have to type the name of the repository in, and then you're allowed to delete it. Do not worry, you can only delete repositories that you have access, or that you're the owner of, so you don't have to worry about deleting my repository. You just have to make sure that you're not removing any code that you want to keep. Also, you can go to your repository settings here, right-click the repository in question, open it in File Explorer. That gives you this folder. Select one up so that you've got your whole repository there. You can delete that repository as soon as Visual Studio is closed, and then you can eliminate all the work that you've done and basically start over fresh. This may seem like a silly thing for me to be showing you, but in actuality I spent about an hour doing that over and over and over again, piecemeal across the period of however long it's taken me to get this video finally done. Hopefully that has been informative and will allow you to get started on GitHub work. Hit me up on Hangouts if you've got any questions.